We're at the DOJ right now, the U.S. Department of Justice. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this and kind of like figure things out as far as where we're at right now, as far as this Trump's presidency. All right, so let's talk about this, man. Trump, you know, now let me backtrack a little bit. You know, he did he, he did a honorable thing, yesterday when he honored the young man, with a law enforcement creditization, if you want to call it that, creditization. Um, I want to talk about this real quick. The DOJ, when when you're trying to um, get something passed, right? You're trying to get something done. They have here tabs like they have news, our work, find help. Um, so you can basically, you can come to the website, you can file a complaint against an agency, a lawmaker, whoever. You can do anything you want to do as far as filing a complaint. You may have had a grievance that's been redressed. You can have it complimented here. You can go here to the DOJ website and look up file a complaint. I think it's somewhere in here, um, right here. You can go here, submit a complaint. They give you options where you can, go and basically, um, you know, if it's a complaint against um, a cabinet member, if it's a complaint against a law agency, is it a complaint against a healthcare agency, whatever it may be, you can file your complaints here. Now, the thing I want to talk about is when we're seeing life just go by day to day, right? And you see how all this stuff just changes over. And you don't know how it changed over. You don't know how you went from good to bad. All you know is that when you file a complaint, they always send you a confirmation back or a letter addressing the incident. Basically saying, we can't help. You know, but what you realize is that if you're on the committee for DOJ, Department of Justice, you address hearings, um, you examine um, people who've been summoned, whether it be a civil rights issue based off of national origin discrimination, race, color, age, disability, whatever it may be. Um, they never address the fact that you know the damages were done to you. They never address the fact that you sat here and complained about police brutality. You've complained about city officials, not doing their job. You complain about all this stuff, and then you finally see that they come out and New Yorkers, because New Yorkers, they are very diligent about what it is they want to see done. If there's rats everywhere, the city is looking worse than it did the previous administration on a citywide level. Of course they're going to, they're going to find a way to bring the mayor, who we just saw, right? Eric Adams. They're going to find a way to, whoever it may be, they're going to find a way to get you in there and they're going to question you. He was just questioned at a Capitol meeting, so I'm looking at it like this, man. If you're seeing things go by in your community and it's not improving, you know, you don't like when I was living in Chicago, right? You get woke up in the morning to hearing lawnmowers, edgers, you know. You get woke up in the morning to hearing men working. A lot of these cities, you just wake up. You don't hear anything. You know, you wake up to silence. You know what I mean? Like, I noticed, like, when I was living in, Detroit and I was living in Chicago, I noticed the difference between the two. Like, when you're living in Detroit, you're not woken up by sounds of men working, doing what they have to do as far as, choosing to be landscapers, choosing to be contractors. You're not woken up to hearing, chainsaws. You're not waking up to hearing blades, ply through wood. You know, you're not waking up to that in places like Detroit. You're waking up to that in places like Chicago. Wherever I lived on the south side of Chicago, I always heard man working in the hours of 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m. I always heard man working throughout the day. I always heard it, you know? And then you go through some of the worst neighborhoods where there's violence and everything, and you look around and it's like, why are these people bickering? They have everything they need, right? You look on the city sidewalks, right? You look on the part where the city owns the soil, and they have the soil plant beds, and they have the topsoil there with the mulch. You look at it, right? They have tree that you can request from the city in Chicago, like, hey man, I want a tree planter right here. They're gonna come out and plant the tree. They're gonna come out and plant the tree. A lot of cities you can't get stuff like that done. Like the city services is poor. You know what I mean? Like you want to get something done, you're trying to get something done, like the city just doesn't address it. And that's the thing that I missed about living in Chicago, was that, they always got stuff done. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to tell them that, they didn't pick up the garbage. You know what I mean? The city workers didn't pick up the garbage. They was always there on time. They never missed a day. They were never late. You know what I mean? Like they were always there picking up the garbage. You know? Because in Chicago you have alleyways. So you can just go in the back of your house, dump your trash in a can. You don't have to move it. You don't have to do any of that. Like it's just there. The can is just there for them to pick it up. You can just take the trash and put it in there and go back in the house or go back in your yard, close the gate. You know what I mean? So it's like, I noticed that, they're trying to make Brandon Johnson seem like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like I keep hearing people, try to give him poor reviews. Like he was around when Chicago was really a city where everybody wanted to come to. Before all the violence and stuff was happening, we always saw people coming from New Jersey. We always saw people coming from Tennessee. We always saw people coming from places to Chicago. People from overseas, they're always coming to Chicago. They want to interview the young kids, the young boys, who's playing basketball on the court. They want to interview them. You know, what is life like in Chicago for you? So you see, like they're trying to make Brandon Johnson seem like, he's this bad person. And I like what he did, right? He had a sharp cut when he went to the committee examination. He had a sharp cut. He had a mohawk. And he always wears the mohawk. And he's adamant about, black people in Chicago knowing who they are. When he made the address to the city about Native American Heritage Day, he basically said, the Potawatomi, those were the black people. Everybody's in the city is indigenous. Why can't people understand this? And like he's coming from, I think he's from Aurora, Illinois. He's from Aurora, Illinois, and he's coming to Chicago, and he wants to see what the city is doing. He wants to get into the politics. You know, this has probably been his dream his entire life. You know, he probably saw Mayor Richard Daley doing what he was doing, you know, in the city. And he was just like, I want to do something differently, you know? To me, like, he didn't do what Kwame Kilpatrick did. You know, like when you look at Mayor Brandon Johnson, like his administration wasn't a failure, you know? His administration wasn't a failure. Like at best, you know, it's on the like you can't raise people children for them. You can't do it, you know? If your children are going to be outside at 9 p.m. running around the street, you know, running up on people who's walking down the street going to the store, like grown men and stuff like that, telling them to turn around, you can't walk through here. Like if your kids, you know, your high school kids are going to be doing this, of course the city is going to be unattractive to people who are just getting there. You know, they're going to want to leave. You can't walk down the street because there's foot pirates. You can't walk down the street because they're shooting all the time, and then the police they're chasing the criminals down the street while your property is getting damaged in you know, in the meanwhile, you know, they're running through your yard, you know, hopping the fences. So it wasn't on Brandon Johnson to sit up there and say, you know, well, immigration is our problem and we need, no, it wasn't that. He gave the people who were seeking asylum, he gave them a place to stay. You see what I'm saying? While the city residents, you know, the people there in Chicago, they were just like, you know, we want them to go back to where they came from. Mayor Brandon, he was trying to calm the people like, you know, we can't do that. You know, they're here now. You know, so I'm looking at all the DOJ and they're trying to make it seem like, you know, the people are doing something. They're going to try to throw him under the bus. You know, when all this interrogation and, you know, this litigation is done, they're going to try to throw him under the bus. They're going to try to do him like they did Rod Blagojevich, the governor of Illinois. They're going to try to do him like him. Richard Daley, he got off. Like, if you want to talk about corruption, right? Daley's administration from the 60s on into the 90s, that was corruption. What we're seeing with Brandon Johnson, it's not corruption. It's not corruption at all. What we saw with the Daleys was corruption. Fred Hampton getting assassinated, Fred Hampton's tombstone getting shot up by people in Maywood, Illinois, that happened on Daley's watch. Like, you should want to see someone like Mayor Brandon Johnson be an advocate for your issues. As the chief executive of a city board or city administration, you should want to see him as that person. And the reason I say that is because he has bipartisan issues addressed across the board. Rhyme Fest, you know, he's working with public schools now. He got elected, you know, to work with the city board as far as, you know, public schooling issues. That happened on Mayor Brandon's watch. You see what I'm saying? Before we even had, you know, people who actually cared about the children being educated, you know, about a certain subject or certain topic, or, you know, before, you know, it was popular to go to private schooling, you know, before that was happening, didn't nobody really care about, you know, the kids receiving education. We're seeing the effects of that like right now. Kids not being in school during school hours. Them getting into shootouts, you know, during lunch period. We're seeing the effects of that right now. Because the kids you see that's doing that, you know, who are in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, Their older brothers did this. Their older cousins did this type of stuff. You're seeing that play out right now. So whoever comes in there after, Mayor Brandon Johnson is thrown under the bus, you're going to see things improve for some reason because, whatever took effect that he made change in his administration, you're going to see it happen, once the budget shifts. Then everybody's going to be talking about, you're going to see the news stories. Violence is down in Chicago. DOJ, they're not stopping the people who are gunsmithing, gun trafficking. They're not stopping them. It's Mayor Brandon Johnson's job to address the city. It's not his job to enforce the fact that, there's eliciting or, soliciting of guns that are on the street and is in teenagers' hands. Like there's crates of guns in alleys. It's not his job to, enforce that. It's his job to address it. So if he sees something, if he see an ordinance that's wrong or something like that, they're going to have a meeting with the alderman. You're going to say, oh, what are we going to do with this right here? Okay, we're going to change this. We're going to change that. We're going to do something different right here. Okay, let's do that. Let's see what happens, after I'm gone, after they throw me under the bus. The DOJ is not doing its job. If someone got injured in medical malpractice, whatever it may be, they got thrown against a car by a police officer for unlawful seizure, unlawful search, whatever it may be, it's the DOJ's job to make sure that that doesn't happen and that the person who was a victim of that incident, make sure that they get compensated. Make sure that their issue is redressed before the committee. The DOJ has to take all of its notes, all of its submissions, and they have to have a meeting on them. Okay, this is happening in this area. This is happening in this area. We need to fix this stuff. The DOJ is not doing its job. They're just not. So you see here, the Attorney General are in charge of justice management, executive offices for organized crime, justice programs, community protocol. So if I contact the Attorney General and I say, this right here, the health licenses that you see in Michigan, they need to be resigned. They need to be put under order to expire. They need to be put out of service. And the Attorney General doesn't do it. Lisa Nessel, I think is her name, right? Lisa Nessel. I think she's the AG for Michigan. I forget how to pronounce her name. Nessel. She's the AG for, Michigan. And I can't point to anything she's done and say that she's done a good job. She just hasn't. So think about these things, man. Think about these things. Great peace, Yakoki.